Welcome to Jazz Haven, broadcasting live from studios in downtown New Haven, Connecticut at WNHHLP and on the web at newhavenindependent.org and at the jazz station WETFLP, South Bend, Indiana, streaming at jazzradio.wetf.org. And you're with Stan, the man with the jazz.
just my heart serenading you, my prelude to a kiss. If you hear a song that grows like my tender sentimental woes, that's just my heart trying to compose, my prelude to a kiss. Though it's just a simple melody with nothing fancy, nothing much, you could turn it to a symphony, a Schubert tune with a Gershwin touch. Oh, how my love song softly cries for the tenderness within your eyes. My love is a prelude that never dies, my prelude to a kiss. Though it's just a simple melody with nothing fancy, nothing much, you could turn it to a symphony, a Schubert tune with a Gershwin touch. Oh, how my love song softly cries for the tenderness within your eyes. My love is a prelude that never dies, my prelude to a kiss.
That's the voice of jazz vocalist Becca Stevens, and it's off a 2013 recording from tenor saxophonist Dana Stevens. and they spell their last names differently, so they're not related. The Dana Stevens recording is "I'll Take My Chances," and we got Stevens there on the tenor sax, Charles Alterer guitar, Gerald Clayton piano, Joe Sanders bass, and Bill Stewart on the drums. Duke Ellington's tune, Prelude to a Kiss. And we started Jazz Haven with the Curtis Brothers from a 2018 live recording at Side Door Jazz Club. And Curtis Brothers are from Hartford. Zakai Curtis plays piano. Lucas Curtis plays bass. And they were there with some of their mentors, Brian Lynch there on the trumpet, Donald Harrison on the tenor sax, and the late great drummer Ralph Peterson. And it's off a recording called Algorithm. Now, for the remainder of the program, we will be highlighting some of the latest adventures of the Curtis Brothers. And we're going to start with the brand new recording from alto saxophonist Lakeisha Benjamin. And it's called, well, her recording that came out last year was called Phoenix. This one is called Phoenix Reimagined. It's live.
On the drum. My name is Lakeisha Benjamin on alto saxophone. Get relaxed, get acquainted. We're gonna start off with my song, Train, for the great John Coltrane. So sit back, relax, enjoy yourself, and we'll talk a little bit later. Is that all right? Is that all right?
Conrad Herwig. And he plays trombone, and that's his latest recording, the Latin side of McCoy Tyner. And the tune we heard was Passion Dance. Tyner wrote that tune for John Coltrane's A Love Supreme. That's on that classic album. Craig Handy there on the tenor sax, Bill O'Connell piano, Ruben Rodriguez bass, Robbie Amin on the drums, and Camilo Molina congas and bata. And we started that set with the brand new release from alto saxophonist Lakeisha Benjamin, featuring pianist Zakai Curtis of Hartford, and she has Elias Bailey on the bass, and E.J. Strickland played those drums. The name of the new recording is Phoenix Reimagined. You may recall that in 2022 she released a recording called Phoenix, which was nominated for a Grammy. And this new one is Phoenix Reimagined, recorded live at the Bunker Studios in Brooklyn, New York. The Jazz Haven Jazz Calendar is a quick rundown of some of the jazz in the area this week. It's Wednesday, July 24th, and each and every Wednesday at the Owl Shop in downtown New Haven, that's the Owl Shop Cigar Bar and Lounge, downtown New Haven. You can catch each Wednesday Kevin St. James and his quintet from 9 until midnight. And there's no cover. NMCC, no music cover charge. On Friday, for that great vinyl listening experience, you can join jazz historian and curator Frank Cochran at the Institute Library in downtown New Haven, beginning at 5-ish, and they run until 7:30. It's free, open to the public, and donations are accepted to deter expenses. NMCC. And this weekend, up at Connecticut's premier jazz spot, the Side Door Jazz Club at the Old Lime Inn. On Friday, it's New York bassist Ben Wolf and his quartet. And then on Saturday, something special happens. Ben Wolf performance begins at 8:30. On Saturday, however, it's the Celebrate Midsummer Festival at the Old Lime Inn. And it takes place on the patio outside of the Old Lime Inn, beginning at 5:30 p.m. with the Avery Wyman Trio featuring Jeff Fuller, followed by a Saturday night jam session. So that all starts at 5:30. So it's 8:30 Friday night, 5:30 Saturday. The Side Door Jazz Club at the Old Lime Inn. And on Saturday, July 27th, it's at the Historic Jazz Jam at Cafe 9, downtown New Haven, 4 to 7 p.m. All musicians are welcome to sit in after the first set. NMCC. And on Sunday, July 28th, it's the last for the season jazz brunch at the Elm City Market, downtown New Haven. And this week, of course, the band that started it all there, Jeff Fuller and Friends, Darren Litzy on piano, Ben Bellello on the drums. Brunch and music from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. NMCC. Also on Sunday, it's Brazilian music, bossa novas and sambas at the Whitney Center in Hamden, featuring vocalist Layla Sear with Jeff Fuller, Joe Carter, and Ben Bilello. Fun starts at 4 p.m. And on Monday, July 29th, for that big dance band that we all enjoy, it's Pat Todd's Tuxedo Junction. It's a 17-piece big band, and they're at the VFW Hall in Guilford, beginning at 7 p.m. NMCC. That concludes the jazz calendar for the week. Go to jazzhaven.org for the complete calendar updates and additional information. Check out some jazz this week. It's America's only original art form. Now, this next tune is features bassist Lucas Curtis on the latest recording from tenor saxophonist Diego Rivera. We're going to hear the title track with just a word.
Manhã tão bonita, manhã. Na vida uma nova canção, cantando só teus olhos, teu riso, tuas mãos. Pois há de haver um dia em que verás das cordas do meu violão que só teu amor procurou. Vem uma voz, fala dos beijos pedidos nos lábios teus. I'll sing to the sun in the sky. I'll sing till the sun rises high. Carnival time is here, magical time of year. And as the time draws near, dreams lift my heart. I'll sing as I play my guitar. I'll cling to a dream from afar. Will love come my way this carnival day and stay here in my heart? I'll sing while I play my guitar. I'll cling to a dream from afar. Will love come my way this carnival day and stay here in my heart? Canta o meu coração, alegria voltando, tão feliz amanhã deste amor.
That's the latest from jazz vocalist Corinne Allison off her recording A Kiss for Brazil. That's on the Origin label, and the tune we heard was Mana de Carnaval. We started the set with trombonist Diego Rivera from his latest release. We heard the title track, With Just a Word, featuring bassist Lucas Curtis and Pete Rodriguez there on the trumpet, Art Hirahara piano, Rudy Royston on the drums. It's Jazz Haven, your summertime connection for jazz in the greater New Haven area. We're going to continue with highlighting the Curtis brothers, Zakai and Lucas. This next recording we're going to hear is off the latest from pianist Lisa Hilton, and it's called Coincidental Moment. We're going to hear Lucas Curtis on the bass with Happily Go Luckily. That's pianist Lisa Hilton from Coincidental Moments, and Happily Go Luckily, her composition, with Igmar Thomas on the trumpet, Rudy Royston drums, and featured bassist Lucas Curtis. And we've been featuring the Curtis brothers today from Hartford, Connecticut. They first were introduced to this music by Jackie McLean and his wife Dolly through a program they were running, which still exists, still is running, up and running, called The Artists Collective. And we want to thank you for tuning in to Jazz Haven, broadcasting from our studios here in downtown New Haven, streaming at newhavenindependent.org, and the jazz station WETF LP, streaming at Jazz Radio WETF.org. It's been a pleasure being your host here, Stan the Man, and we hope you've enjoyed the music. We had a great time playing it, and we look forward to the next time when we'll see you on the radio. Taking us home is a final tune from the Curtis brothers from their live recording at the Side Door Jazz Club in Old Lyme, Connecticut. Zakai Curtis on piano, Lucas on the bass, and this is a tune written by Zakai with Donald Harrison on the alto sax, Brian Lynch trumpet, and the late great Ralph Peterson on the drums. It's off a recording called Algorithm. This is 5.